that business will go from like 20K a month to 150K a month. And it's because I raise the standard for every single person on the team, simply not tolerating bullshit. The people I want to hire and have on my team are people who are going to win regardless of me, but they will win more with me than they would with anyone else. All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through what to do if you have an underperforming acquisition manager or just underperforming person on your team, period. Because the problem is that it's probably killing your business and killing your profits. And so I was recently talking to one of our partners who has this exact issue, right? He has a guy who's locking up contracts, not deals, a guy who isn't taking coaching and implementing it into his business, a guy who just seemingly doesn't quite have the ceiling that's required to be a fantastic acquisition manager, to run a multi-seven-figure business and to be that core superstar to build around. And so if you don't have that core superstar to build your team around in the acquisition seat, then you're going to struggle and stay stagnant around that 50K a month mark, no matter how hard you try to grow. Or you're going to be the one who's solely doing acquisitions and forever in that seat. Whether that's a good thing for you or a bad thing, that's kind of dependent on your personality and what kind of burnout you're experiencing. For me personally, I would never want to do that. I always want to hire an acquisition person because sales is not my specialty. My superpower is the opposite of sales. It's operations, it's leadership, it's people, it's systems, it's KPIs, all those things, right? From being a great operator. Not that I'm the best in the world, but I'm above average, I think, for most businesses, right? That's why, I do multiple seven figures a year. So what I'm going to show you is kind of what I was talking to my partner about, one of our partner program guys about, and it's really pretty simple, right? There's really two pieces to it. It's going to be the leadership strategy you're using mixed with the standard that you allow, mixed with the person that you bring onto your team, right? So selection is the most important thing. If you select the right person, things just magically work. If you select the wrong person, things will not work. And that's just the truth, right? You can do all the right things with the wrong person and it will not work and it will never work. And that's the same for if you have people on your team, if you have a business partnership, if you have a relationship with your significant other. If you pick the wrong person, do the right things with the wrong person, it will not work. And so having the right process and the right skill set yourself is important, but just equally as important, or arguably more important, is picking the right person to your team. So the 80-20 is, who do you pick? The thing about who do you pick is it's a very tough and challenging question. So for me, I've made over 100 hires. If I look at all of the best hires that I've ever made in my life, they've all come from people I know directly, people I've been referred to from people I know. Yeah, that's really it. Or they follow me on social media. Those are the three factors. So they knew me, I knew someone that knew them, or I knew them directly. Those are the three options. So I've been kind of thinking a lot of like when I was talking about this yesterday, I was like, how do I do this? How do I go and find these people? Because what seems like an unsystematic thing and a random occurrence where I just find people through my network, I started to think about it. It's actually not so random. And I talked about this a little bit, in another video, but the basic way that I go about this is I just text, call, and tell everyone what I'm looking for. So I told Ken, is the guy's name. I told Ken, I said, dude, so text 50 people. I know it sounds like a lot, but text 50 different people and tell them that you're looking for someone who wants to learn real estate, get into it, who's good at sales, and it's a full-time role where they can make 6 figures or more per year and be directly mentored by you. Text them something along those lines. And then what will happen is, and you ask them, do you know anyone who might be interested in this? And what will happen is most people, because they're the right avatar, will either say, hey, I'm interested, or hey, I know people who might be really good at this. And they can send a blast out to their social media. You can leverage them, or you just have a call with them. But the point is, you're going to get on a phone call with them. You're then going to have a whole conversation about what they want, why they don't like their role, and then you're going to sell them the opportunity that you have. Now, you can't make this opportunity sound like it's the best thing ever. You have to make it sound like this is going to be hard work. The expectations have to be in alignment. Because if you tell someone, oh, you're going to get fed only hot appointments and you're going to have to make 5 calls a day, and then they get into the job and they have to make 200 cold calls a day, no, they're not going to be happy. So you got to make sure the expectations that you set are clear and that it's going to be a hard role. But you want to sell them on the opportunity of, like, if they go through this hard, what could they get on the other side? Same thing you would do in a sales call, right? So you're just doing it in a recruiting fashion. And so you need to build your pipeline like that. You need to go and network with people all the time, telling everyone that you know, that you meet, what you want, what you're looking for, and have these conversations. And it's going to take some time. It'll take you 2 to 3 weeks to build this pipeline up and to really nurture it over time. But if all you do is focus on finding one really fantastic acquisition manager, it will take your business from $500K a year to $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million per year with one fantastic acquisitions guy, nothing else. And the reason for that is because you can build around that person. If you get a superstar in acquisitions, like any franchise team, right? The Golden State Warriors, what do they have? They have Steph Curry. They have a franchise player. They built around him. They built a team around this guy. And so you need, yes, there's risk to key man risk. But the point is, if you give a guy a job that's so good, where he makes so much money and has such a balance and does exactly what he loves, then the key man risk is kind of eliminated because he's got the golden handcuffs. He can't leave. I don't know if you've ever had a corporate job. I've never had one, but this is what I hear is like, you have a 150K a year W2, 200K a year W2 with bonuses. It's going to be hard to leave, especially if your boss isn't an asshole, especially if your company takes care of you, and especially if you have decent work-life balance. You might hate corporate culture, but you're probably not going to leave. And the same thing happens is if you have a sales guy making 250K a year, 200K a year, 300K a year working for you, and he gets to work remotely. He gets to go and help people sell their property. He's talking to people. He's doing things he loves. He's working with people he loves. Like the company, you guys are all cool. You guys are kind of friends. You guys go do fun things quarterly together. Do you think that person's going to want to leave? I mean, in my experience, the answer is no. Because a lot of people have come to work for me and say, hey, I want to work for you for a year and then go start my own business. And then what ends up happening is they work with me for 2-3 years and then never end up wanting to go start their own thing because they're like, why would I leave? Like it's great. Now you have to become a leader. You have to give them the right ecosystem. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. But the point is that if you find the right person and you treat them the right way and give them the right opportunity, because again, your company is the vehicle for them to get what they want, right? They want to make $200,000 a year. They want to work remotely. They want to have a job that gives them freedom, that allows them to feed their family, make more money, invest in real estate, whatever it is. Your company is the bridge to what they want. Your company is the bridge to what they want. And you are the person who's facilitating that bridge being built for them. And so you have to make a company, make a place, make an ecosystem that's going to attract the type of talent that you want. And that also means you're going to have to become the type of person who can attract that kind of talent, right? And so I'll give you a couple things to leave with, right? So one, you need to start building your pipeline. Two, you need to become a better leader. And leadership comes naturally to a lot of people. It came naturally to me. It comes naturally to certain people who've always been put in a leadership position in any sport they played, anything that they've ever done. But there's a lot of skills. There's a learned behavior. Just because I was a natural leader doesn't mean I actually had natural leadership skills. I naturally took the authoritative role in any group I was in any team I was in. People looked to me because I excelled, right? People didn't look to me because I was I was a person that inspired other people around me or held people accountable or was had all these leadership skills. No, people just looked at me because I was good at what I did and I led by example. I worked harder than everyone else. I showed up first, and I stayed till the last. And people wanted to be like me. And that's the truth. So if you haven't ever experienced it, that's okay. You don't need that to be a leader. And honestly, I'd say that's even a bad thing to have, because it gives you a false sense of security and people just gravitate towards you, so you don't actually need to learn the skills as much. But by learning leadership skills, it's going to allow you to take a non-performer and turn them into a high performer. And what happened, and I'll give you a recent example, is the company I went to work on the board for, it was a wholesale and flipping company. They were rebuilding. They'd done 7 figures in the past. They kind of restarted, whatever. Point is, I go on the board. They have a fully built out team. If you know the Freedom Builder model, they have they have someone running. They have inbound marketing channels. They have follow-up specialists. They have acquisition managers that are commission only. They have dispo. They have a pay at close TC, and they have a book. They have all the things, right? They have the whole entire suite of what you'd want. But when they were starting up, they're kind of hitting some friction. And I was talking to the guy who owned the company. I was like, man, the main owner, I have a minority share in the business, but it's talking to the guy who's running it. And I was like, dude, how do you feel about these people? And I talked to them and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, these guys have potential. The problem is they're not accessing it because they don't have the vision yet. They don't have the leadership guidance. And so what I did was, the only thing I did was I came in and I just raised the standard for everyone who's at the company. And we went from doing 20K a month. This is a very new company, 6 months. No, not even September, October, November, December, January, February. Yeah, 6 months, exactly. We went from doing 20K a month when I started, kind of consulting them, being a board member, whatever, to in the last 30 days, we'll close 65 grand, which that's a pretty big transformation, especially considering the pipeline is even larger than that moving forward. I mean, that's a pretty significant jump, right? So it's a 20K to 60K and a 60K to 120K, right? And so in a year, that business will go from 20K a month to 150K a month very quickly. And it's because what I did was I raised the standard for every single person on the team, just simply not tolerating bullshit is essentially all I did. So I know what it looks like to be great in the role and to run a multi-7-figure wholesaling and flipping company. And I know what everyone in the company needs to do and possess in order to get there. And so all I did was that. And so I'm gonna show you a little diagram real quick. Let me share my screen. So I have my screen pulled up here. And what I wanna show you is this little dichotomy thing. So if I had to sum up leadership in just a couple words, the way that I would sum this up is in 2 words. It's called behavior change. So this is leadership, and that's definitely not how you spell change, but you guys get the gist, is leadership is behavior change. And so if I am trying to impact someone, the way that I become a good leader is I get them to change their behavior to act more in accordance of their goals, right? If they're trying to make 250K a year, someone, that's their goal. This is a goal. And then their activity is only to make 100K a year current. Then my job as a leader is to share with them, hey, there's a pretty large discrepancy between what you're doing and what you want. That's all I'm trying to do is I'm just sharing, hey, if your goal is to make $250,000 this year, you're not doing anywhere close to what you need to be doing. That might be through KPIs. That might be through intangibles. That might be doing extracurricular work, knowledge, whatever. It might be, if you want to make more money in your company and you're not working on Saturdays or on Sundays, at least one day in the weekend to get ahead. If you're not going to events, if you're not paying for education, if you're not growing yourself, if you're not reading books, you're not listening to YouTube videos and podcasts about what you're trying to get better at, if you're not doing that every day to grow, then what you're doing is you're putting in the effort to stay where you're at. And that's okay. But my job as a leader is to tell people, hey, if you want to get to this goal, here's what you need to do. And sometimes people are below the goal. That's if someone has a personal goal and they want to excel. Now, what happens if we have a situation where, for an acquisitions person to be on the team, realistically, they need to be making 100K a year. That's like the minimum threshold. And I'm not using KPIs. I'm just using income as a good threshold because it's very simple. So that's the minimum that we allow. This is the minimum performing standard to be on the team. But then someone is doing, let me write this in red. Someone is doing 60K a year work. It means their KPIs, their contracts, whatever. So they are now underperforming, right? They're under the performing standard. We need to get them up to minimum. And I'm going to show you how we do that because this is not the perfect diagram, but I want to show you the concept of what I'm thinking about as a leader. That's great. But if they're underperforming, we are going to have to fix that behavior in a very straightforward, immediate manner. There's a thing that I was listening to the other day. It was basically talking about how men create monsters. It's a psychologist. His name's Psychax on YouTube, a fantastic channel. Recommend. But the video is how men create monsters. And the example he gave, let's say you have a kid. They're 5 years old. 3 years old, whatever they are. And we go into Walmart and they want a candy bar. We walk down the aisle, the candy bar is right there. They look at it and they're like, I want the candy bar. And you're like, no, you can't have the candy bar. Then they start crying. You're like, no, you can't have the candy bar. Then they start yelling. You're like, no, you can't have the candy bar. And then what happens is this kid starts beating its head on the floor. And you're like, fine. You can have the candy bar. We'll get it. Just stop. What you did right there, and if you've ever trained dogs, you probably understand this. What you did right there is you reinforce bad behavior. And when you reinforce bad behavior is you get more bad behavior. But if you'd have just right away, never replied to that at all and been like, no, you can't have the candy bar and just stuck to it, then that behavior stops. And so what happens is the moment, if you hire someone, the moment they start underperforming, they show up late to a meeting. The moment they're not doing something that is minimally required to hit the performance threshold or to hit their goal, you tell them. They show up late to a meeting. Hey, John, I understand you showed up late to this meeting. Don't do it again. It's not how we act here. I know you're better than that. That's how you do it. You handle it right then, right there, the moment it happens. The hard part about that is you have to understand what it takes to be a winner, what it takes to hit the minimum allowable threshold. And you got to write that out. You got to put that on the paper and say, what will I allow and what will I not allow? And you got to hold the line on those things. And it might be something where you're always gonna be adding to this list, right? An example is in the video I just made right before this is one of the bottlenecks of delegating acquisitions is not giving up comping, right? I thought that was common sense. I didn't know that was something we had to look out for, which I should have known because for us, we held onto that for a year and a half after we delegated acquisitions. It was one of the last things we handed off in the day to day. And the reason for that is because it's a critical part of the business. But I had to add that to my list of things that we cannot allow if you want to grow your company from, 50K a month to 100K a month. That's on the list. It's just the reality. It's just the facts. If you give that up to a new acquisition guy who doesn't know anything, you're going to screw yourself. You're going to lock up contracts and not deals. So you got to always be adding to this list and taking mental note. I do accept this. I do not accept this. And you got to know where to hold the line. And so the point is when someone is messing up immediately, as soon as you see the behavior, no, we don't do that. But on the flip side, when someone does something fantastic, let's say that everyone shows up on time. Everyone has their cameras on. Hey guys, I really appreciate you guys all being here right on time. Having your cameras on means a lot to me. I'm excited for this. Let's get going. Who wants to start with good news or something they're grateful for? Boom. That's how we start the meeting. You reinforce the good behavior. If a dog doesn't jump on the couch, you don't beat it. You give it a treat, when you're training a dog, you just train on good behavior. And if they do something wrong, you correct it in the moment, as soon as it happens. And that's because that's how the psychology works. If you touch a stove and it burns you, you pull your hand away because you're like, whoa, that was hot. Shouldn't do that again. You will never do it again. You learned immediately. That's how people work. That's how psychology works. And that's how leadership works. Leadership is just psychology, but it's all about behavior change. And so I'm going to give you guys an example here. This is what I want to leave you guys with. This is a little diagram that I have. And it's a continuum. We have two sides. On this side, we have a low performance. On this side, we have high performance. So low functioning, high functioning. Basically, the way you can think about this is we have two people, right? We have the people who are below the minimum and people who are above the minimum. So if someone's, doing 200K a year work, then they're above. Someone's, above. Someone's doing below, they're under. And so the way that I think about this is on the low performing side, we have to, as a leader, be more of a micromanager, which is not what everyone loves to do. Micromanager. On the high performing side, we are an empowering leader. We're all about empowerment, right? So it's like on the left side, hey, when the guy said, hey, that price is too low, what did you say? That's the micromanager side. Tell me exactly what you said. Tell me, did you use that tonality? Are you sure that tonality is like the best tonality? You're nitpicking every piece. You're listening to every call. You're very deep. You're very deep in this person's environment. And the whole point is to take this little low performer guy, I'll use pink, and to bring him up to the minimum standard. And let's say the minimum standard is an 8 out of 10, right? Let's say that's the minimum if we're putting on a continuum. This is a 1 and this is a 10 over here, right? The whole goal is to bring them from a low performer to a performing person. That's leadership. Leadership captures these low performers and gets them to become performing, and leadership takes these 8 performers to make them 10 performers. Leadership does not make someone stay the same. Leadership improves their performance. You get the best out of people. You access their potential, right? That's what you do as a leader. And you do it through this strategy and through showing them where they're at on the continuum. And so obviously a 1 micro, like someone's probably not gonna be a 1 performer. They're gonna get fired, right? You're gonna basically like sit there, like hold their hand. You're gonna like put the headset on with them, like listen to, like that's like a micromanager, right? It's obviously a little bit extreme, but it's good to think in extremes because it helps you like realize where you need to be, like what activities you need to do. And then if someone's an 8 performer, my job is to show them what a 10 performer looks like and to empower them to become that, right? Like, hey, like I really think you have what it takes to make $250,000 this year. You're on track for like 170. I really think you have what it takes. Like, would you want to like go down that journey? It's going to be a lot of work, but like if you want to go down that journey, I'll go down it with you and I'll show you what it takes. Boom. Then you get their buy-in, you get their commitment, and you take them down that journey. Same thing here. Hey, you're not hitting the minimum viable threshold. Is this something that you want to do? Like, do you want to be on this team? Do you want to do this job long-term? Yes, I do. Okay, great. Then let's go on the journey to go from a 4 performer to an 8 performer. And I need to see improvement. I need to see hard work. If you don't do these things, then you're not going to be on the team long. You got 30 days to fix this. And like, we're just going to get people off the team. And so this is like the standard. 8 out of 10 performance is the minimum acceptable standard. And when I went and worked with that team, what they had something like this. It was like a 4, maybe a 5 out of 10 minimum allowable standard, right? And all I did was just shift this little minimum performing standard from 4 out of 5 to an 8. It's the only thing I did. And then I forced people to rise to the occasion. Some people quit. That's fine. That's what we don't want. We don't want losers. We want winners. Turning a loser into a winner is a fool's errand. The people I want to hire and have on my team are people who are going to win regardless of me, but they will win more with me than they would with anyone else. That's who I want on my team. Because a team full of winners is a team that I want to be around. I don't want to spend my time with losers. That's the worst. So anyways, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this gives you a visual. Hopefully this allows you to identify one person on your team that shouldn't be there. Hopefully this allows you to think about one person or one situation you had where you didn't hold the minimum standard, or you don't even know the minimum standard. If you don't even know your minimum standard, you need to write it out and write out what that looks like. What are the statistics? What are the KPIs? What are the action items of someone who's doing the minimum standard, and then hold people to it. So guys, if you have any questions, you want us to implement this stuff one-on-one, if you're at a high level, you have a sales team, they're not performing the ways they need, you want to work with me one-on-one, click the link down below, book a call with us. It'll change your business. It'll transform your business quickly. Be a part of a team of high achievers. Otherwise, if you guys are enjoying the value, keep enjoying it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Hey guys, so really quick, I want to share some results from our recent client survey that we did, where we found that we added an additional $196,693 per year to our clients' businesses. And this isn't by telling them to go and spend tons of more money and bloat their business just to get their revenue numbers up. No, this is going through a simple 7-step process that we call the guide to growth that helps them go and make more money in their business without having to spend another dollar. All we're about. And so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what this guide to growth actually is here on my screen. All right, guys, so taking a look at the guide to growth is honestly super simple because all we have to do is troubleshoot in your business to find out where the actual problem is. And since we've broken it down into 7 sectors, into a wholesale business, into a manufacturing line, lead to net to appointment, appointment to offer, offer to contract, contract to sold deal, and average deal size, all we have to do is understand compared to industry standard, compared to our clients' results, where do you stack up? And then for something as simple as deal sizes, if you're not 10% of median home price, then you should be able to get it to 10% of median home price. So if it's $350,000 like in Atlanta, your average deal size should be $35,000 plus or minus a little bit. And so if you're not, we're going to identify that. We're going to come down to the guide to growth and understand where the KPI targets should be, what are the core variables, and what are some possible solutions. And we would do something like this, where we'd hand you an SOP and hold your hand and implement it with you step by step on how to buy deals for less, how to sell deals for more, and how to flip higher price point homes so that you can increase your average deal size and release your bottleneck. All we're going to be focused on is growing your company without spending another dollar. And so if this is something that you're interested in remotely at all, where we'd come into your business and show you exactly how we'd implement the guide to growth for you, then all you need to do is go down below this video, click the link to book a call with our team, where we'll walk you through step by step on our roadmap of how we grow your company utilizing our process. So if that's interesting at all, go down below this video and click the link, book a call with our team. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.